Good day, everyone. We welcome you all to our today's webinar entitled The Digitalization of Trade and Shipping. I am John Bistayan, Marketing Specialist at Factrade, and I'm your host for today. When you hear digitalization, what pops up in your mind? Digitalization is the use of digital technologies to change a business model and provide new revenue and value producing opportunities. It is the process of moving a digital business, whether it is trade or shipping. As we enter the year of 2022, most of the companies are moving slowly from traditional to digital. Just a quick webinar rules before we start. We request participants to mute their microphones and turn off their web cameras during the presentation. Questions will be answered during the Q&A. You can type your question in the chat box. And then let me introduce to everyone our two lovely guest speaker of the day. First is Akanksha Bhanushali. Akanksha has a family background in trading and exports of agro and food products. Pursuing commodity trading as a career choice came naturally to her. She has an overall experience of 10 years in commodity trading and has handled a wide range of product portfolios ranging from frozen foods, grains, nuts, pulses to oilseed. Her outlook towards trading is dynamic as her scope of work combines the experience of working with different stakeholders along with the supply chain. She has observed a disruptive shift in trading methods that inspired her to become part of this transformation and joined Factrade as the international trader responsible for business development and sales. Factrade is an online trading platform facilitating trades across commodities and regions. Our second speaker is Adel Hamwi. Adel was raised in Dubai and has been its massive evolution and have seen its massive evolution over the past 25 years. After spending a few years in the US studying and working, he returned to the UAE and dived into management consulting, where he focused on strategy, customer experience, and startup advisory. He has witnessed firsthand Dubai's transition to a global trading hub and stimulator of innovation for the region. In his latest endeavor, he is the co-founder and CEO of PalletPal, a digital freight solution supporting organizations' procurement and monitoring their cross-border freight shipments. PalletPal is on a mission to make shipping as quick and easy as booking a flight. Now, without further ado, we will turn over to our first speaker, Akanksha, as she talks about the digitalization of trade, followed by our second speaker, Adel, as he talks about the digitalization of shipping.
Hi everyone, hope you are doing amazing, and after a good meal we are here to chat about what digital trade is and followed by logistics. Thank you, Joanne, for your kind words. Today I would be talking about how digital impact has happened with trade and what do we foresee, it's the way forward from there. So as Joanne, put up the first question, what does digitalization mean to you all? And, it's just people think it's a use of technology, it's a use of internet, it's going online. Yes, it is all of that, but it is just more than that as to how it impacts your business. And when we talk about digitalization in the trading industry, it started somewhere 20 years ago where, saving your documents, your files, your shipping bills, your BLs on your computer was the first initiation taken to go online to use technology. Whereas we used to, save in the paper format, and there used to be huge paper trail when it came to trade. It started from there, and then companies started developing each function. Some companies use customer relationship management, some companies use supply chain management. So they started automating their individual functions in the business. But when it comes to trade, the actual negotiation of the deal, the actual procurement of cargo, which required a lot of human touch, human intervention, people did not understand the scope of what technology can do. to that. So today, as I talk about how Factrade has brought in a shift in this dynamics, we will see how it's been benefited by our users. So we'll talk about how the trade flow goes. Generally, when we talk about trading, it's producing the cargo. So you source it, you produce it, you ship it, and then you get a payment. That's the cycle that people talk about, and that's the only thing that people concentrate on. So even companies only see these because these are visible elements of trade. You can see the product, you can see the shipment, you can see the cargo moving, you can see the payment coming. These are all factors that are visible, and companies try and invest in these functions so that they can achieve a better revenue, they can reduce their costs, etc. But to support these functions and help the flow of cargo, there are several other support functions that run parallelly when the trade is done. These are the sales, purchase, the admin, the backend, the logistics, etc. Now, your own marketing and sales team, they must be spending months and months of effort and time into getting the right kind of buyer, getting the right kind of supplier, understanding the market for the product that you're dealing in, and just negotiating a deal for the cargo that you want to promote. There is immense and intensive research which goes behind this. Then once the deal is done, you have so many back and forth approvals. There is a lot of emails which are sent across just to get one approval on bag. And as exporters and manufacturers, I'm sure that not getting your approvals on documents on time must have impacted your bottom line in some way or the other. But as you are not able to give an exact average to the kind of expense and loss it incurs per trade, you're not able to understand how it's impacting the bottom line. Hence, the time invested in approvals, admin, emails by your human resource is extremely important to understand and quantify the same. Same with the finance and logistics, the post-shipment approvals and payments and feedback from the client, the follow-up that it takes place. So that's why the flow of information is extremely important. The way the flow of cargo is, the movement of cargo absolutely necessary because you need to sell your goods. But given that, how your other teams function is also extremely important for you to just expand your business. So understanding this subject, what we have tried to explain is the need gap, which the companies are currently facing. As I said, that the communication channels are very complex. You're working with brokers, you're working with trading firms, you're working with your custom house agents. There are so many parties involved that the internal and external communication, makes the process lengthy, thereby making it very time consuming and thereby impacting the finance situation of the company. The same goes by when what I explained in my previous slide, that the research, the amount of time that it takes to research on a particular commodity, a buyer, a market, etc. And then at the end, because you need to sustain, you need to expand, you need to improve, you need to evolve from what you are doing. Like 5 years down the line, I'm sure that you want to add a product line, you want to grow like folds and folds for your with regards to your volume. And how we have tried to manage this gap as so Factrade is a platform, an online platform where we get the buyer and supplier together, we facilitate the trade, but the communication, the transaction happens directly. Supplier and buyers are connected to each other, which reduces the time it takes to negotiate a deal, to execute a contract, etc. Then we have database of suppliers across different origins, and we don't have like handful of suppliers. We have the market who are active, the players in the market, we have them on the platform. So it's easier for your sales team and your marketing team to have access to those to get that kind of data. And the way it's presented, we have market reports, we have daily prices. So the presentation of the data also, makes it easier for you to understand what is the market like. Maybe you need to sell, some cargo, some volume of cargo this week. The market report, if you study those market reports, you are able to make a better decision as to what is the right price that I will get. And, you can forecast your certain volume and a certain price points. You can forecast it with the kind of data that is available on the platform. And as Factrade is an online platform, there is no constraint as to you need to buy only from India origin. You can explore different origin for multiple products. So, as we saw in during COVID, a lot of governments put restriction on the exports of agro because they had to have policies for food security for their own people and population. Hence, a lot of countries had to look at alternate origins to procure and service their own nation. So Factrade, because it's online, you can access the data at your disposal at the time zone that you are in. And there's no restriction on volume that you can only trade this much volume per month on our platform. Based on your capability and resources, you can expand. And as I said, that we have active users, active business partners. So it just becomes easier for you to, have simple, good, plain trades with them. What the future holds for us, as we have already seen that there is a shift. As I said, that 20 years ago, we started saving documents. Now, when we talk about it, we can't think of anything else. Like, how would I even save, how could I even have a paper trail or a file in my office? So we can't even think about how to function without your laptop, without internet, without being online. But 5 to 10 years down the line, we know that certain stakeholders along the supply chain will be eliminated. There is a lot of exposure. The world is coming closer. Hence, the buyer and supplier, the proximity between them will decrease. They'll have more reliable business partners to work with. Companies will adopt, various functions which will be automated, which will make the processes better and eventually impact the revenue that your company makes. There is access to the markets. There are so many products, there are so many new origins, there are that you can explore, that you don't need your person to go travel to certain destination, because there is a company who's already done that kind of research for you. So even cutting down the research for your company by 50%, it has a lot of impact to your gains. And if we are collaborating together, integrating everything, as you know that the shipping companies, we have our custom agents, we have our government agencies, you have your QC quality agencies who've all adopted digital way of working. And if everything is brought together, you move, because the industry is so fragmented and small, you have so much of information available that together, because of collaboration, you can move forward and have agro trade as much more organized than what it is today. So this is the shift that we will see in the coming years for agro trading. And I hope that we don't miss the bus and we are there, just increasing the volume and doing good business. We are open to questions at the end of the talk by Adel, and then I'm open to questions we can answer. If you all have any doubts, you all can put it in the chat box. I will have my co-speaker Adel take over from here.
Introduce obviously myself and PalletPal a little bit, and then I just want to talk about why we're seeing a shift into kind of this digital trade and digital shipping, beyond what we've seen in traditional trade, but what's going on in other industries and how that's affecting us. Logistics as its own, and customers both of carriers, shipping companies, even your bank and fintech, and how that's affected everything we're doing now. So yeah, my name is Adel. Thank you so much for having me. I'm one of the co-founders at PalletPal. PalletPal is a digital freight solution. What that means is we support organizations like many of you here today, I'm sure that require shipping, right? Freight shipping across borders. Our platform is pretty straightforward. We connect you, shippers, with logistics providers through a digital solution that includes things like track and trace for air and sea shipments, access to data analytics, key notifications and status updates at every point, as well as obviously the importance of the human element. You have someone to speak to. We are a digital platform complemented by real people. We are a service industry. I don't want anyone, pulling their hair out because they have to speak to a chatbot. So we are real people that you can speak to. The way it works and what really sets us apart is the fact that we've onboarded such a massive number of carriers and freight forwarders. We have over 50 partners right now, and we run every single request through a bidding process, like an auction-like process. For example, let's say you're moving a container from China to the UAE. You could use our platform to receive not only a first bid, but also a second one and a third one and a fourth one that are all trying to beat that first price. For example, someone says they'll do it for $8,000. All the other forwarders and carriers will receive a notification and say, oh, you're doing it for 8,000? I'll do it for 7,800. I'll do it for 7,700. So it's an auction-like process for us to get you the most competitive price. Now, let's be honest with each other. Some shippers and some carriers think their service is so superior that even if the first quote is 8,000, they might charge you 9,000. However, we do our best to still run that auction-like process. What that does is, of course, make us hit competitive prices. We show you every single quote, so you can ensure that we're not hiding anything. We don't promote anything. We are the connection and the ones that handle everything from A to Z. We are the ones that you speak to and the ones that will collect payments and provide credit terms, etc. Now, what I really want to touch upon is, Akanksha did very well in touching upon trade and how we got there. What I'd like to do is really think about and focus on the shipping side, right? Innovation to me is not just the idea that we're moving to tech. Like Akanksha said, people think it's just technology, but innovation is really, at least to me, customer experience. How are you changing a customer's expectations and the experience of that customer for the better, really? We should always be pushing for the better. If you think about any other industry, and as of this morning, for example, I had my bank account open. I was transferring money from a personal account internationally to my account here. 2 minutes, done. Insurance policy, I was renewing my insurance. I went on Bezat, the local app, 3 minutes, very, very quick. Now, these are obviously all B2C or B2C platforms, so there is space for more digital fusion. Talking about a B2B place, there's a growth of these B2B wholesale marketplaces. Factrade is a connection like one of them, who do very well. And then there's other ones that have different niches, and for example, fashion and furniture, other foods, etc. So we're seeing huge kind of changes in both the B2C and B2B, yet shipping has kind of fallen behind. And I don't think it was until about 2 years ago when COVID hit that we've seen a shift. On one side of the game, the provider side, the logistics provider side, we've seen a massive shift in the way warehouses are managed. We've seen last mile delivery, go from next day shipping to same day shipping to 15-minute deliveries, and it's only going to get quicker. You order something today in Dubai on Kareem from the grocery store, and it's at your house in under 10 minutes, which is absolutely crazy. And that's really the pressure of the past 2 years, obviously the pandemic. But what's really kind of been falling behind is your cross-border freight shipments. We're still operating under really dinosaur age processes, right? We're procuring quotes like it's 1999. Manual and paper-based processes, they dominate all transactions in freight. Only 5 of the top 20 forwarders actually send automated confirmation emails. And that's like the most basic thing, right? The confirmation emails that, yes, you have booked this sea shipment or air shipment. Even fewer provide instant quotes. Companies still rely on emails and calls and fax to exchange information. And you walk into these freight forwarding offices and it's like phones with cords and everyone's behind a laptop and picking up phones, and there's a fax machine in the corner and stacks of paper. And yet we're living in 2022. And the worst part now is that by using all of these traditional communication methods, you get very, very, very poor access to data. We know, and I'm obviously not the first person you hear this from, that data is the new oil, right? We need data to grow our business. We need data to be able to make better business decisions, project better outcomes, and honestly provide better service. If the data is trapped in your email and your messages and your phone calls and in your mind, there's no way you're going to be able to do that. So we're seeing innovation come kind of on all fronts. Disruption is really happening everywhere. There are, digital native startups like PalletPal. PalletPal only launched about 6 months ago now, and we're emerging across the supply chains to build lean and dynamic and efficient operations, and a business model that's really fueling the realization of the future of shipping and cross-functional logistics. So we provide you with that freight solution to make your life easier. There are obviously ways where disruption is supporting us doing that, like the introduction of APIs, machine learning, AI, distributed ledger technology, all of these to provide kind of better spot quotes, better contract rates, the ability to create smart supply chains. Now, a lot of this is, we are in the hope and the tech exists for us to do that. Yet, I wouldn't say we are there yet where we have absolutely smart supply chains. We are still working towards that, simply because supply chains have so many different stakeholders, players, and there's just a lot of data to gather, to be honest. And traditional players are now following, right? Freight forwarders, traditional freight forwarders are trying to digitize their booking process. You can now view schedules on CMA's website, for example. With other carriers, you're able to view the cost. You might still need to call to confirm a booking. However, you can do partially automated shipping requests. Consumers tomorrow are really kind of the agents of change for today. We are all calling for, all of us on this call, in one way or another, are calling for automated, faster, more sustainable, greener, and more transparent shipping. That is what PalletPal can provide, and that's what PalletPal is working towards. There is a huge focus on customer centricity, and PalletPal is here to support you doing that. And we're just one of the disruptors in really an industry fueled and ripe for innovation.
Thank you so much, Akanksha and Adel, for helping us understand how digitalization can help our participants to trade and ship with ease. I just have one question to the both of you. Out of all the platform that is similar to Factrade and PalletPal's business model, what do you think is your platform's unique selling point?
Yeah.
Yes, Akanksha.
Akanksha, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Something that I missed mentioning was, as Adele, told that while talking, you need that human touch. You need human intervention because you don't want to be talking to a computer, a machine. So we have, compared to the other platforms which are already there, we have traders who have experience in certain commodities, who then take up the online trading. So there's a lot of insights and information and intelligence that you have of the experienced traders on the platform. So yeah, that's the kind of USP that we have.
Yes, Adele.
Yeah, I mean, we provide value in a few different ways, I think. First and foremost, it's value in numbers. We connect you with so many different players in the logistics providers and suppliers, sorry. So freight forwarders and carriers, for both sea and air, we're able to connect you with basically all the big ones. Everyone you want to be speaking to is on PalletPal. Beyond that, we've cut your procurement time by so much. We had some customers who were previously spending up to 2 weeks. Imagine spending 2 weeks to procure a quote. Now, obviously, that might not be the case for every experienced shipper. However, for a lot of shippers, in particular kind of SMEs in this region, they're spending way too long and getting outpriced by logistics providers. So we cut down transaction turnaround times for procurement. What we also do is we aggregate volumes, meaning that you can get and benefit from better prices. Obviously, one customer going to a freight forwarder versus the multiple customers in PalletPal's portfolio going to the same freight forwarder, who do you think is going to get the better price? One with more volume. We provide track and trace solutions. I know that's been around already for air for very long, decades, I would assume, if not at least 10 years. But for sea, we show this to some customers and they're like, wow, and it's tremendous how we thought what is so small, right? Because who's not used to tracking their flight or a family member's flight when you have to pick them up from the airport or, cargo. And now we're introducing it for sea and people are like, wow, okay, great. Obviously, the human element is something we hold on to very dearly. I think trust and relationships is what this industry was built on, and we want to hold on to that. And the biggest one for me is access to data, access to information. That is, we hold on to everything like a database, but we also assess it. We run it through our automated platform and a few algorithms to kind of output a few numbers on your dashboard, your return on investment, how much you're spending on cargo for what value, what you can expect to ship over the next, year or so, depending on how much you've shipped and your projections and your trends and stuff like that. Complemented by an actual person who can provide you with almost a consulting-like service by saying, maybe it's better you ship twice a month, smaller amounts rather than, 4 times a month, really smaller amounts. So it's all stuff that we take into consideration. Those are really the core ones. And yeah, that's what PalletPal is all about.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Akanksha and Adel, for that very informative answers. Now we will be moving forward to our question and answer part. Please be sure to type your questions into the chat box for our participants. We'll be waiting for your questions. We also have one question from Janisha. Won't it be difficult for small exporters to survive as who is selling in big volume can give better price to buyers always? I think this question is for Akanksha.
Yes. Thank you, Janisha, for that question. It was a good question. As I, when I was presenting, I mentioned that we work with the smallest of exporters to the large groups. I understand that the large groups have a benefit and advantage of doing better volume and hence giving a better price, but not always the price is the factor when it comes to confirming a trade. A buyer looks at the ease of doing business with that particular company. They look at the the turnaround time for shipment. They look at the kind of relation that you develop with the buyer. So as you would be touched with the buyer directly, the kind of relation that you build, that is when you have consistent business from that particular partner. So it's not about how big or small your organization is, but it's apart from the price, what is the kind of service that you can provide to the particular customer is what is important there.
There's another question from Mayush Agrawal. His question is, given the global disruption, its impact on shipping, how is PalletPal supporting the concerns of dynamic pricing, booking guarantee, ETD of goods against regular vessel cancellations?
Great. I love that question. I was actually reading, we were speaking about it on the call right before everyone joined, about the impact of Ukraine and Russia's on the global shipping and trade recently. So actually that dynamic pricing question comes at the perfect time because prices are definitely going to go up as a lot of containers are either stuck since no one's actually going to be delivering to Russia. And they have a huge number of staff as well, about 11% of the nine of the biggest carriers. 11% of their staff are Russians. So there's huge problems there as well. But yeah, dynamic pricing, we actually do not provide prices instantly. We do that on purpose. We don't have rate cards. We don't hold rate cards simply because it ends up becoming a lot more expensive for a customer. If you think about it, in order for me to provide instant rates, I need a rate card. And for me to cover myself and actually make any money, I'm going to have to make that rate card so much higher in the case that something like some sort of supply chain volatility pushes prices so far up that it means, I have to just be able to cover myself and my team. Sometimes we do offer promotions and we subsidize some shipments for shippers and new shippers. However, I don't want to be losing money on every single shipment. And so instead of us using rate cards for kind of fixed and instant prices, is we go through this bidding process, meaning it's not on our shoulders to be able to be the ones controlling the price. We allow technology to negotiate one logistics provider against the other. Because let's face it, I don't want to negotiate. I hate negotiating. I don't want my customers to go negotiate because that's part of the headache I'm trying to take away from them. But to scale, I'm going to have to use technology as the only way to negotiate against each other. So using a bidding process allows me to kind of overcome that dynamic process. Pricing, booking guarantees are very, very difficult. We know how hard that is. And it kind of goes hand in hand with the estimated time of departure of your goods. With some regards, for example, certain carriers like CMA, if you're doing a port-to-port shipment or a port-to-door shipment, then you can pay an extra charge for ensuring a priority booking. Sometimes that comes through, sometimes it doesn't. The best thing we can do is work with people we trust. Freight forwarders that we bring on board and carriers we bring on board are vetted. They go through kind of a questionnaire. Sometimes we visit them if they're in the region, because we obviously have partners all over the world. Carriers, if we work with them directly, we are willing to pay that extra charge, and so is the customer, in order to guarantee that their product is going to have space on the vessel. So that is the only way around it, really. I wouldn't say that there is, the magic sauce for me to guarantee bookings every single time. However, we do our best to work on the trust angle as well as, verified, vetted partners.
Okay. Another question from Mr. Himanshu. Does shipping line only focusing on lightweight cargo at the moment?
Is that for me? So
I think it's for the both of you guys. You can answer.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you consider lightweight. We have some small e-commerce brands that ship 70 kilos. That's pretty lightweight. I don't think I would put it on a shipping line whatsoever. But they're still obviously doing LCL, although it might be more difficult sometimes to find the spot. And yeah, there's still always ways. The beauty about PalletPal is that if we have different volumes coming in from similar places and going to the same place, then we'll aggregate that. It's smarter and more cost efficient for you, for PalletPal, to get, for example, a 20-foot container and put your goods with someone else's goods in order to kind of save you money and get your product moving quicker. Akanksha, I'll let you add to that just on Ahmed's question, which is next. Yes, PalletPal is a free platform. You don't need to pay anything. So go ahead, Akanksha.
Yeah, so as you know, it's about the shipping line. I think Adel was the perfect person to answer that question and take that forward. So yeah, I have the same thoughts as him.
Okay. Another question is, will PalletPal take guarantee to exporters for buyers' authenticity and vice versa?
You guys are hitting me hard with the questions. We'll take guarantee.
Welcome to the trading team.
I think the only thing I can say about this is it would have to be on a case-by-case basis. We do work very closely with you at every stage, even before selection. So I don't have an exact answer for you, I'll be honest. And also we are kind of we work with the person who's responsible for the shipping, right? Depending on your Incoterms. Guarantee exporters and buyers' authenticity is really beyond us, I would say. Once you, for example, have a commercial invoice and you've purchased your goods, it's on us to pick it up if you do door shipments or from the port to move it to the next step. If you've requested to move books and there are flowers in the container, that is something obviously we'll check. However, I don't think that's for us to guarantee.
Okay, I think we have the last question from Rahul. Due to shortage of container liners, cancels booking without prior notice. In this case, how PalletPal will help to make new booking as prices may rise?
Yeah, that's a good question, because this is genuinely happening as we speak, with shipments going on with PalletPal at the moment. For the most part, our carriers, our freight forwarders have trusted us with the rollovers to remain at the same price. So if there is a rollover, maybe your container couldn't get on the ship. We have yet to see a case where we had to pay more. And that is dominantly coming from China. There is also, in the terms of use, when you come onto PalletPal, that PalletPal will cover up to a certain amount in changes of the price. But that needs to be, again, case by case. There is a certain amount PalletPal will cover on your behalf. And if it's over that amount, then we might have to invoice you again.
Okay, it looks like we've covered all the questions of the participants. For any further questions, Factrade and PalletPal will be sending you the link of our website. You guys can have a chat with us, and we also have our LinkedIn profiles. We're very open to chatting after this webinar. And then it was great. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate your attendance of our webinar. Thank you so much for our dear speakers, Akanksha and Adel. This was a very interesting lunch. It's like my lunch right now. That is very interesting regarding trade and shipping. We can never thought that trading and shipping will be easier right now because of Factrade and PalletPal together. I think we're all wrap up. Thank you again for joining us for today, and we will see you again next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.